The Academy's morning cycle began with gentle chimes that resonated through the corridors, designed to wake students regardless of their species' natural sleep patterns. Sarah had been awake for hours, her internal clock still adjusting to the station's artificial day-night cycle. She had spent the time reviewing her cover story and mentally preparing for her first day of classes. The dining hall was a marvel of engineering and logistics. Hundreds of different food preparation stations catered to the diverse nutritional needs of the student body. Sarah made her way to a section designed for carbon-based life forms, selecting items that closely matched what her supposed species would consume. The food was surprisingly good, though she found herself missing simple Earth cuisine. Her first class was Galactic history, held in an enormous amphitheater that could accommodate students of vastly different sizes and environmental needs. The professor, an ancient crystalline being whose body refracted light in beautiful patterns, began the lecture by projecting three-dimensional star maps that showed the expansion of civilization across the galaxy. "Today we begin our study of the Great Convergence," the professor announced, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's acoustic systems. "The period 2,000 years ago when our various civilizations first made contact and began the process of building our current galactic community." Sarah listened intently as the professor described how early spacefaring races had encountered each other through a series of fortunate accidents and careful first contact protocols. What fascinated her most was learning about the challenges these civilizations had faced in establishing communication and trust across such vast differences in biology and culture. The lecture covered the formation of the Galactic Council, the establishment of trade routes, and the development of universal translation technology. Sarah took careful notes, knowing that this information would be invaluable to Earth's eventual integration into galactic society. During a break in the lecture, she struck up a conversation with a nearby student, a feline-like being named Carthex, whose species had been among the founding members of the galactic community. "It's fascinating how they managed to overcome such different ways of thinking," Sarah commented, gesturing toward the historical displays. Carthex's ears twitched, and what she had learned was a sign of agreement. "My people still tell stories of the early contact period. There were many misunderstandings and near conflicts before proper communication was established. The key was patience and the willingness to assume good intentions." "What about species that were discovered later? Was it easier for them to integrate?" "Generally, yes. By then we had established protocols and procedures, though there are still regions of the galaxy that remain unexplored. Some say there might be civilizations out there that we haven't encountered yet." Sarah nodded thoughtfully, fighting to keep her expression neutral. That would certainly be interesting. Her next class was Advanced Physics, where students from across the galaxy studied the fundamental forces that governed the universe. The professor, a gaseous being that existed within a containment field, introduced concepts that challenged even Sarah's extensive preparation. "Today we will examine the theoretical possibilities of faster-than-light communication," the professor announced. "While we have mastered faster-than-light travel, instantaneous communication across galactic distances remains beyond our current understanding." Sarah perked up at this. Humanity had been working on similar problems, though from a completely different theoretical framework. She found herself genuinely engaged with the material, asking questions that demonstrated her intelligence while being careful not to reveal knowledge that her supposed species shouldn't possess. The discussion became animated as students from different species contributed insights based on their unique perspectives. A methane-breathing student from the outer reaches suggested modifications to quantum entanglement theory, while a silicon-based life form proposed solutions based on crystalline matrix calculations. During lunch, Sarah found herself at a table with students from her dormitory section. The conversation ranged from complaints about homework to excited discussions about research opportunities and potential career paths. "What do you plan to specialize in, Kethara?" asked Zixandra, her silver skin shimmering under the dining hall's artificial sunlight. "I'm interested in xenobiology and cultural studies," Sarah replied, which was partially true. Understanding alien life forms and societies was indeed part of her mission. "I find it fascinating how different species have evolved such diverse approaches to problem solving." Florten, the rock-like being, nodded approvingly. "That's a field with great potential," There are still many species we've only recently made contact with. Their biological and cultural adaptations often provide insights that benefit the entire galactic community. The afternoon brought her most challenging class yet: Advanced Strategic Analysis. This course was designed to train future leaders and diplomats, teaching them to understand complex political and social dynamics across multiple species and star systems. Professor Veltara, an imposing insectoid being with 4 arms and compound eyes, began the session by presenting a hypothetical scenario involving a trade dispute between 3 different civilizations. The key to resolving interspecies conflicts, the professor explained, is understanding that what appears to be economic competition often has deeper cultural and biological roots. The thermal lords require specific temperature ranges for their manufacturing processes, which conflicts with the aquatic collective's need for cooler environments. Meanwhile, the Grove mines operate on decision-making timescales that span decades, making rapid negotiations nearly impossible. Students were divided into teams, each representing one of the factions in the dispute. Sarah found herself assigned to represent the Grove mines, which required her to think in terms of extremely long-term consequences and collective decision-making processes. As the simulation progressed, Sarah discovered that her human perspective actually provided unique advantages. Her species' combination of individual initiative and group cooperation allowed her to find solutions that other students might miss. She helped broker a compromise that satisfied all 3 factions by proposing a rotating schedule that accommodated different environmental needs while respecting the Grove mines' deliberative nature. Excellent work, Professor Veltara commented at the end of the session. Your solution demonstrates sophisticated understanding of multi-species psychology. Most students require several weeks to develop such insights. Sarah felt a flush of pride, quickly followed by concern. She needed to be careful not to stand out too much. Her human adaptability and problem-solving skills might draw unwanted attention if she consistently outperformed her classmates. The day concluded with a social gathering in one of the Academy's recreational areas. Students from across the galaxy mingled in an environment designed to accommodate multiple atmospheric and gravitational preferences. Sarah observed the interactions carefully, noting how different species had developed their own social customs while adapting to galactic norms. She joined a group discussing recent technological developments, contributing just enough to the conversation to avoid seeming antisocial while gathering valuable intelligence about current research directions and potential military applications. As the evening wound down, Sarah made her way back to her dormitory with mixed feelings. The day had been successful from an intelligence-gathering perspective, but she found herself genuinely enjoying the academic environment and the company of her fellow students. The realization troubled her. She was supposed to remain detached and focused on her mission, but it was becoming increasingly difficult to see these beings as mere subjects for study. Back in her room, she activated her hidden communication device and composed a brief, coded report for Earth. The message contained basic information about Academy structure, student demographics, and technological capabilities. She kept it deliberately vague, knowing that detailed intelligence would have to wait until she could establish more secure communication methods. As she prepared for sleep, Sarah reflected on the day's experiences. The galaxy was far more complex and sophisticated than Earth's intelligence services had predicted. More concerning was her growing realization that humanity's eventual emergence onto the galactic stage would require careful planning and preparation. The stakes were higher than anyone back home had imagined. 3 weeks into her studies at the Academy, Sarah had established herself as a dedicated and capable student. She maintained careful balance between academic excellence and avoiding too much attention, though her natural human curiosity sometimes made this challenging. Her professors appreciated her thoughtful questions, and her fellow students had accepted her as part of their diverse community. The morning brought an unexpected announcement during the daily Academy briefing. Director Quinthala, a majestic being whose crystalline body reflected rainbow patterns, addressed the assembled students through the Academy's communication system. Students of the Galactic Elite Academy, the director's melodious voice resonated through the corridors. We have received word of a significant development. Long-range exploration vessels have detected signs of previously unknown civilization in the outer spiral regions. This discovery presents both opportunities and challenges for our galactic community. Sarah's blood ran cold. She forced herself to maintain a neutral expression while her mind raced. Could they have detected Earth? Had her mission been compromised? She listened intently to the rest of the announcement. In response to this discovery, the Academy will be implementing a special research project. Advanced students will work in teams to develop first contact protocols and assessment procedures for this potentially new species. This project will count toward your final evaluations and may influence future diplomatic missions. The announcement ended, leaving students buzzing with excitement throughout the corridors. Sarah made her way to her advanced strategic analysis class, where Professor Veltara was already organizing students into research teams. This is precisely the type of real-world challenge that separates theoretical knowledge from practical application, the professor explained, her compound eyes scanning the assembled students. Each team will be responsible for developing comprehensive protocols for peaceful contact with an unknown civilization. Sarah found herself assigned to a team that included Carthex, the feline being she had befriended, along with Zixandra from her dormitory and two other students she knew less well. One was a gaseous being named Mordek, who specialized in atmospheric sciences, and the other was Teclon, a mechanical intelligence from a cybernetic civilization. Our first task, Carthex announced as the team gathered in their assigned workspace, is to consider what we know about this mysterious civilization and what gaps exist in our information. Teclon accessed the Academy's databases through direct neural interface, his mechanical form humming quietly as he processed vast amounts of information. The detection data is limited. We have evidence of radio transmissions, artificial light sources, and what appear to be space-based installations. The technology seems relatively primitive compared to current galactic standards, but shows signs of rapid advancement. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. The description matched Earth's technological profile almost perfectly. She had to be very careful about how she responded to this information. Primitive technology doesn't necessarily mean primitive thinking, she offered. Some of the galaxy's most innovative civilizations started with simple tools and developed unique approaches to complex problems. Zixandra nodded agreement, her silver skin reflecting the workspace's soft lighting. The archaeological records show that many current council species went through periods of rapid technological advancement once they achieved certain breakthrough discoveries. Over the following days, Sarah's team worked intensively on their first contact protocols. The irony of the situation was almost overwhelming. She was helping to develop procedures that might be used when Earth was eventually discovered, while simultaneously gathering intelligence that could help humanity prepare for that moment. The team's discussions revealed fascinating insights into how galactic civilization approached unknown species. Their protocols emphasized caution, respect for cultural differences, and the assumption that any spacefaring civilization must possess significant intelligence and potential for peaceful cooperation. The key principle, Mordek explained during one session, is to avoid imposing our technological or cultural standards on newly discovered species. History shows that civilizations develop along many different paths, each offering unique perspectives valuable to the galactic community. Sarah found herself genuinely impressed by the thoughtfulness and wisdom embedded in galactic first contact procedures. These beings had learned from centuries of interspecies relations and had developed sophisticated approaches to managing cultural differences. However, she also noticed concerning gaps in their protocols. Most galactic species had achieved space travel through similar technological pathways, and their procedures seemed designed for civilizations that followed predictable development patterns. Humanity's unique evolutionary history and cultural characteristics might present challenges that current protocols couldn't address. During a break in their work, Carthex approached Sarah privately. His feline features showed concern, and his ears were flattened against his head in a gesture she had learned indicated serious thought. "Cathara, may I speak with you about something unusual?" Sarah's pulse quickened, but she maintained calm composure. "Of course. What's troubling you?" "I've been reviewing the detection data from this mysterious civilization, and something bothers me. The technological signatures don't match any known development pattern. Most species achieve space travel and global communication within similar timeframes, but these beings seem to have developed them almost simultaneously. This was exactly what Sarah had feared. Human technological development had been accelerated by the pressure of global conflicts and resource competition, creating a development timeline that differed significantly from typical galactic patterns. Perhaps they faced unique environmental challenges that required rapid innovation, she suggested. Carefully, Carthex's whiskers twitched thoughtfully. That's possible. But there's something else. I've been analyzing the atmospheric composition data from their planet, and it includes several compounds that are toxic to most known species. Any civilization that evolved there would need to be remarkably hardy. Sarah nodded, trying to appear academically interested rather than personally concerned. Earth's atmosphere was indeed hostile to many galactic species, particularly due to its high oxygen content and the presence of water vapor at atmospheric pressure levels that most aliens found dangerous. What do you think this means for first contact procedures? She asked. It might mean we're dealing with a species unlike any we've encountered before. They could be more aggressive, more adaptable, or simply think in ways that our current protocols don't anticipate. That evening, Sarah sent another coded message to Earth, this time with urgent warnings about the detection of their solar system. She included as much information as she could, gather about galactic first contact procedures, and recommended immediate suspension of all external radio transmissions that might provide additional evidence of human civilization. The response came back within hours, a coded signal that confirmed receipt of her message and authorized her to continue her mission while gathering more specific intelligence about galactic military capabilities and defensive technologies. Over the next week, the research project intensified. Each team was required to present their protocols to a panel of academy professors and visiting diplomats from various council species. Sarah's team worked frantically to refine their recommendations, unaware that one of their members was simultaneously working to protect the very civilization they were studying. The presentation day arrived with great fanfare. Teams from across the academy gathered in the main auditorium to share their research and receive feedback from galactic experts. Sarah's team was scheduled to present third, giving her time to observe how the other groups approached the challenge. The first two presentations were solid but conventional, following established patterns with minor modifications for the unusual technological signatures they had detected. When her team's turn came, Sarah found herself in the strange position of helping to present first contact, protocols that might someday be used on her own. Species. Carthex began their presentation with an overview of the detection data and their analysis of the unknown civilization's technological capabilities. Zixandra followed with a discussion of potential cultural and social structures based on the patterns of energy, usage, and radio transmissions they had observed. When it came time for Sarah to present her section on recommended contact procedures, she felt the weight of her dual loyalties. The protocols she had helped develop were thoughtful and respectful, designed to minimize the risk of cultural contamination or technological shock. Yet she knew that no matter how careful the galactic community might be, first contact would fundamentally change humanity forever. Our recommendations emphasize patience and gradual contact, she explained to the assembled audience. This civilization appears to be in a period of rapid change, and premature contact could destabilize their natural development process. The presentation concluded to enthusiastic applause, and several professors commented on the team's innovative approaches to the unique challenges presented by this mysterious civilization. Sarah felt pride in their work even as The weeks following the first contact project presentations brought new challenges for Sarah. Her team's work had been selected as one of the top 3 proposals, earning them recognition throughout the academy and an invitation to present their findings to a special council of galactic diplomats. The honor was both thrilling and terrifying, as it would place her under even greater scrutiny, from beings trained to detect deception and hidden motives. More concerning was the accelerating pace of discoveries about the mysterious civilization in the outer spiral. Additional long-range sensors had been deployed, and the incoming data painted an increasingly detailed picture of human technological capabilities. Sarah learned about these developments during her advanced xenotechnology class, where Professor Motharan shared the latest intelligence with his students. The new sensor data reveals fascinating details about this civilization's approach to space technology, the professor announced, his insectoid form clicking with excitement. They appear to have developed chemical propulsion systems far beyond what we typically see at their apparent technological level. Their spacecraft designs show remarkable efficiency and innovation. Sarah maintained careful attention while inwardly cringing. The professor was describing humanity's rocket technology, developed through decades of space exploration and military applications. What impressed the galactic observers was actually the result of human adaptability and the intense competition that had driven rapid technological advancement. What's particularly intriguing, the professor continued, is evidence of multiple independent space programs operating simultaneously. Most civilizations develop unified space exploration efforts once they achieve interplanetary capability, but these beings seem to maintain competitive parallel programs. Teclon, the mechanical intelligence from Sarah's project team, raised a sensor array that served as his equivalent of a hand. Could this indicate political fragmentation or territorial disputes? That's an excellent question, Professor Motheran replied. The data suggests a complex political structure with multiple sovereign entities. This could present significant challenges for first contact procedures, as there might not be a single governing authority to negotiate with. Sarah bit back the urge to smile. The professor's analysis was accurate but incomplete. Humanity's political diversity was indeed complex, but it also represented one of their greatest strengths. The competition between nations had driven innovation and exploration, while the underlying commonalities of human nature provided potential for unity when faced with external challenges. After class, she found herself walking alongside Carthex toward the dining areas. Her feline friend had been unusually quiet during recent lectures, and she sensed he was troubled by something. "The new data about this civilization bothers me," he finally said, his ears flicking with agitation. "Something doesn't feel right about the whole situation." Sarah kept her expression neutral while her mind raced. "What specifically concerns you?" "Their development pattern is unprecedented. Most species follow predictable pathways from basic technology to space travel to interstellar capability. But these beings seem to be advancing along multiple technological fronts simultaneously, with innovations that suggest entirely different approaches to problem solving. This was exactly the kind of analysis Sarah had feared. Carthex was intelligent and perceptive, and his species had extensive experience with first contact situations. If he was detecting anomalies in human development patterns, other experts might reach similar conclusions. Perhaps they faced unique environmental pressures that required creative solutions, she suggested, echoing her earlier deflection. Carthex stopped walking and turned to face her directly. His large eyes studied her face with uncomfortable intensity. "Cathara, I've been researching your supposed home region in the Academy databases. There's remarkably little information about the Kepler Rim territories, or the species that inhabit them." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs, but years of training helped her maintain composure. The outer rim regions are poorly documented. Most exploration efforts focus on areas with greater resource potential or strategic importance. "That's true," Carthex acknowledged, but his whiskers continued to twitch with uncertainty. "Still, I find it curious that someone from such a remote area would achieve admission scores high enough for the Academy. Your knowledge base suggests exposure to educational resources that shouldn't exist in undeveloped territories." The conversation was moving into dangerous territory. Sarah needed to deflect without appearing defensive or evasive. "My family invested heavily in education and imported teaching materials from more developed regions. It was expensive but considered essential for advancement opportunities." Carthex seemed to accept this explanation, but Sarah could tell he wasn't entirely convinced. She would need to be even more careful about revealing knowledge or capabilities that didn't match her cover story. The following day brought news that made Sarah's blood run cold. During the morning Academy briefing, Director Quinthala announced that the Galactic Council had approved a preliminary exploration mission to investigate the newly discovered civilization. 3 exploration vessels will depart within the next galactic month, the director explained. Their mission will be to conduct detailed observations while maintaining safe distance and avoiding detection. The data they gather will inform our eventual first contact protocols. Sarah knew she had to warn Earth immediately. 3 months was a frighteningly short time frame for humanity to prepare for galactic scrutiny. She composed an urgent coded message that night, providing details about the planned mission and recommending immediate implementation of advanced stealth protocols for all human space activities. The response from Earth came back within days, confirming that emergency preparations were underway. However, the message also contained new orders that complicated Sarah's mission significantly.
Earth's intelligence services wanted her to attempt gaining
access to detailed information about galactic, military capabilities and defensive technologies. This request pushed Sarah into much more dangerous territory. Until now, her intelligence gathering had focused on general cultural and technological information that could be obtained through normal academic activities. Accessing military data would require her to move beyond her student cover and potentially risk exposure. Opportunity came sooner than expected. Professor Veltara announced that advanced students in strategic analysis would be granted access to historical military conflicts for research purposes. The Academy's archives contained detailed records of interspecies wars, defensive strategies, and technological capabilities dating back thousands of years. Understanding past conflicts is essential for preventing future ones, the professor explained. You will study 3 major galactic conflicts and analyze how differences in military technology and strategic thinking influenced their outcomes. Sarah volunteered to research the Thanix War, a conflict from 800 years earlier that involved 5 different species and lasted nearly a century. The war's records would provide insight into galactic military thinking and reveal technological capabilities that might still be relevant. The Academy's deep archives were located in the station's core, protected by multiple security systems and accessible only to students with appropriate clearance. Sarah's academic record and project involvement had earned her the necessary permissions, though she knew her access would be monitored and logged. The archive chambers were vast, containing information storage systems from dozens of different technological traditions. Some data was stored in crystalline matrices, others in quantum field fluctuations, and still others in biological memory systems that required specialized interfaces. Sarah began her research with genuine academic curiosity, studying the complex political and cultural factors that had led to the Thanix War. However, she gradually focused her attention on the military technological aspects, particularly defensive systems and early warning capabilities. What she discovered was both reassuring and terrifying. Galactic military technology was indeed far advanced beyond anything humanity currently possessed. Energy weapons, gravitational manipulation systems, and defensive shields that could protect entire star systems were standard equipment for major civilizations. However, she also identified potential weaknesses in galactic military thinking. Most interspecies conflicts had involved prolonged campaigns with predictable strategic patterns. Galactic commanders seemed to favor elaborate, resource-intensive operations designed to minimize casualties while demonstrating technological superiority. Human military thinking, shaped by centuries of total warfare and resource scarcity, might offer advantages in certain scenarios. Humanity's willingness to accept risks and make rapid tactical adjustments could potentially offset technological disadvantages, at least temporarily. More importantly, Sarah realized that galactic civilizations were remarkably peaceful by human standards. The major conflicts she studied were separated by centuries, and most involved disputes over resources or territory, rather than existential threats. The galaxy had developed institutional mechanisms for resolving conflicts that made large-scale warfare increasingly rare, peacefully. The morning brought devastating news that shattered Sarah's carefully maintained composure. During the regular Academy briefing, Director Quinthala's usually calm demeanor showed visible tension as she addressed the assembled students. Fellow scholars, we have received urgent communications from the exploration vessels studying the newly discovered civilization. Their observations have revealed unexpected complications that require immediate attention from our most advanced students and faculty. Sarah's hands clenched involuntarily as she waited for details that could spell doom for her. Mission and her species, the civilization in question appears to have detected our observation. Efforts, the director continued. Their response has been both rapid and sophisticated, suggesting technological capabilities far beyond our initial assessments. They have implemented what can only be described as systematic concealment measures. The announcement sent ripples of excitement through the student body, but Sarah felt only cold dread. Earth's defense systems had apparently detected the Galactic observation mission, just as she had warned them. Now the question was whether humanity's response would be interpreted as hostile or merely defensive. In light of these developments, Director Quinthala announced, the Academy will be hosting an emergency symposium involving leading experts from across the galaxy. Selected students will have the opportunity to contribute their research and insights to this crucial diplomatic challenge. After the briefing ended, Sarah made her way to her advanced strategic analysis class in a daze. The situation was spinning out of control faster than anyone had anticipated. Her presence at the Academy, which had once seemed like humanity's greatest intelligence advantage, now felt like a terrible liability. Professor Valterra was already deep in discussion with several advanced students when Sarah arrived. The conversation stopped as she entered the classroom, and she noticed several pairs of eyes studying her with newfound interest. Kethera, the professor said, her compound eyes focusing on Sarah with uncomfortable intensity. Your timing is perfect. We were just discussing the implications of this mysterious civilization's response to our observation efforts. Carthex gestured for Sarah to join their circle. We've been analyzing the concealment techniques they implemented. The speed and sophistication of their response suggests either remarkable technological advancement or prior knowledge of galactic observation methods. Sarah forced herself to appear academically curious rather than personally terrified. What kind of concealment techniques are we talking about? Teclon interfaced directly with the Academy's data systems, his mechanical form humming as he processed the latest intelligence reports. They've implemented broad-spectrum electromagnetic dampening across their entire solar system, deployed what appear to be holographic camouflage systems around their major space installations, and redirected most of their interplanetary traffic through carefully planned routes that minimize detection. The description made Sarah proud of humanity's rapid response capabilities, even as it filled her with dread about the implications. Earth's military and scientific establishments had clearly taken her warning seriously and implemented emergency protocols with impressive efficiency. More intriguingly, Professor Valterra added, they appear to have ceased all external radio transmissions simultaneously across their entire planet. This level of coordination suggests either a unified global government or communication systems sophisticated enough to coordinate multiple, independent political entities. Zixandra's silver skin reflected her confusion. Could they have been monitoring us as we monitored them? The timing seems too convenient for coincidence. This was exactly the question Sarah had been dreading. If galactic experts began seriously considering the possibility that Earth had prior knowledge of galactic civilization, her cover story would inevitably come under scrutiny. Perhaps they've encountered other spacefaring civilizations before, she suggested carefully. Their rapid response might indicate previous experience with contact situations. Carthex's ears flattened against his head, a sign of deep thought that Sarah had learned to fear. That's possible, but long-range surveys show no evidence of other technological civilizations in their region of space. If they had previous contact, it would have been with civilizations from much further away. The discussion continued for hours, with students and faculty analyzing every aspect of humanity's response to galactic observation. Sarah found herself in the surreal position of helping to decode her own species' defensive strategies while simultaneously trying to deflect suspicion from her own presence at the Academy. During a break in the discussions, Carthex approached her privately once again. His whiskers twitched with agitation, and his large eyes showed the same uncomfortable intensity she had noticed in class. Kethara, I need to discuss something important with you, something that's been troubling me for weeks. Sarah's training kicked in, keeping her voice steady despite her racing pulse. Of course. What's on your mind? I've been conducting some unauthorized research into your background, he said quietly. I hope you'll forgive the intrusion, but something about your presence here has never quite made sense to me. The confession hit Sarah like a physical blow, but she forced herself to maintain calm composure. I'm not sure what you mean. Carthex pulled out a datapad and activated a holographic display showing star charts and shipping records. I've been tracking trade routes and communication logs between the Kepler Rim territories and the Galactic core. There's virtually no traffic in that direction, and no record of educational materials being shipped to your supposed homeworld. Sarah's mind raced through possible explanations, while her training screamed warnings about exposure and capture. Perhaps the records are incomplete. Many Outer Rim transactions aren't properly logged with Galactic authorities. That's what I thought initially, Carthex continued, his voice growing more concerned. But then I started researching the specific subspecies you claim to represent. According to the Galactic Biological Database, your people are supposed to be adapted for low oxygen environments and high radiation conditions, yet you show no discomfort in standard galactic atmospheric conditions. The observation was devastating in its accuracy. Sarah's human physiology was indeed incompatible with her cover story's supposed biological requirements. She had been counting on the rarity of her alleged species to prevent detailed biological scrutiny. Individual variation is common in isolated populations, she offered weakly. Adaptation over generations can produce significant physiological changes. Carthex studied her face intently, his feline features showing both concern and growing suspicion. Cathara, I've been involved in first contact situations before joining the Academy. I know what it looks like when someone is hiding their true nature. The accusation hung in the air between them, loaded with implications that could destroy everything Sarah had worked for. She realized that denial would be useless against Carthex's evidence and intuition. Her only option was to attempt controlling the revelation while gathering intelligence about his intentions. What exactly are you suggesting? She asked quietly. I think you're not who you claim to be, Carthex said. Your knowledge base, your problem-solving approaches, even your physical responses to environmental stimuli don't match your supposed background. More importantly, your insights into strategic thinking and cultural analysis suggest exposure to ideas and experiences that shouldn't exist in your alleged home region. Sarah felt the walls closing in around her, carefully constructed cover identity. If you're right, what do you plan to do about it? Carthex's ears moved forward in a gesture of earnest concern. That depends on why you're here, and whether you represent a threat to the Academy or galactic security. I don't believe you're dangerous, but I need to understand the truth. The conversation was interrupted by an Academy-wide announcement calling all students to an emergency assembly. Director Quinthala's voice carried unusual urgency as she summoned the entire student body to the main auditorium. Sarah and Carthex made their way to the assembly in tense silence, each lost in their own thoughts about the confrontation that had been building between them. The auditorium was packed with students from across the galaxy, their diverse forms creating a sea of anxious anticipation. Director Quinthala took the central platform, her crystalline form refracting the auditorium's lights into brilliant patterns. Students and faculty of the Galactic Elite Academy, we face an unprecedented situation that requires our collective wisdom and expertise. The director activated a massive holographic display showing detailed sensor readings and analysis reports. Our exploration vessels have made a remarkable discovery. The civilization we have been studying appears to possess technological capabilities that rival or exceed those of established galactic powers. Gasps and excited chatter rippled through the assembled students. Sarah felt simultaneously proud of humanity's capabilities and terrified of the attention they were attracting. More significantly, the director continued, their response to our observation efforts demonstrates strategic thinking and coordination that suggests advanced diplomatic and military sophistication. We are no longer dealing with a primitive. That night, Sarah found herself facing the most difficult decision of her mission. Carthex had requested a private meeting in one of the Academy's meditation gardens, a neutral space where students from different species could find environments suited to their psychological and spiritual needs. The location suggested he wanted to discuss matters too sensitive for their dormitory or classroom settings. Sarah arrived early, choosing a secluded area surrounded by bioluminescent plants from several different worlds. The gentle lighting and subtle sound dampening would provide privacy, while allowing her to monitor approaches from multiple directions. Her training had taught her to always consider escape routes, even when meeting with friends. Carthex appeared precisely on time, his feline grace allowing him to move silently through the garden pathways. He had brought a small device that Sarah recognized as a privacy generator, used to prevent electronic surveillance of sensitive conversations. Thank you for coming, he said, activating the device before settling onto a meditation platform designed for his species. I know this situation must be difficult for you. Sarah remained standing, her human posture reflecting both readiness and uncertainty. I'm still not sure what situation you think we're discussing. Carthex's ears moved in the pattern she had learned indicated patience mixed with determination. Cathara, or whatever your real name might be, I've spent the past week conducting exhaustive research. I've found no credible evidence that your supposed subspecies actually exists. The blunt statement hit her like a physical blow, but Sarah forced herself to remain composed. Research databases can be incomplete, especially for remote regions. I thought so too initially, but I also accessed historical survey records, xenobiological classification systems, and even archaeological databases. There's simply no trace of a civilization matching your described background, anywhere in the Kepler Rim territories. Sarah's mind raced through possible responses while simultaneously calculating the implications of exposure. What conclusion are you drawing from this research? Carthex leaned forward, his large eyes reflecting genuine concern rather than accusation. I believe you're from the civilization we've been studying. The one that detected our observation efforts and implemented those sophisticated concealment measures. The accuracy of his deduction was breathtaking. Sarah felt simultaneously impressed by his investigative skills and terrified by their implications. Her training provided scripts for various exposure scenarios, but none had anticipated such methodical and intelligent investigation by a potential friend rather than enemy. That's quite a theory, she said carefully. What makes you think such a thing is possible? Several factors, Carthex replied, pulling out his datapad and displaying a complex analysis. Your problem-solving approaches consistently demonstrate innovative thinking that doesn't match established galactic patterns. Your insights into strategic and cultural analysis suggest exposure to conflict resolution methods that differ significantly from standard diplomatic training. He paused, studying her reaction before continuing. Most significantly, your physiological responses to stress and uncertainty match the biomarkers we've observed in the limited data we've collected about this mysterious civilization. Your species appears to have evolved different neurochemical responses to challenging situations. Sarah realized that humanity's evolutionary history had indeed produced stress responses and cognitive patterns that differed from typical galactic species. The competitive pressures that had shaped human development had created psychological characteristics that would be detectable to sufficiently advanced observers. Even if your theory were correct, she said slowly, what would you propose to do about it? Carthex's whiskers twitched with what she had learned was his equivalent of a smile. That depends entirely on your intentions and the circumstances that brought you here. I don't believe you represent a threat to the Academy or galactic security. Your behavior over the past months has demonstrated genuine academic interest and respect for your fellow students. The conversation was moving into territory where Sarah had to make fundamental decisions about trust and mission priorities. Her handlers had provided general guidance about exposure scenarios, but the specifics of her situation required improvisation and judgment. Hypothetically, she said, if someone from this mysterious civilization were present at the Academy, what do you think their motivations might be? Intelligence gathering, obviously, but also genuine learning and cultural exchange. Anyone capable of maintaining deep cover at this institution would need to possess remarkable intellectual capabilities and cultural adaptability. Carthex paused, his expression growing more serious. What concerns me is the timing. Your presence here, combined with your civilization's rapid response to our observation efforts, suggests either remarkable coincidence or careful preparation. If your people have been monitoring galactic civilization for some time, it raises questions about their ultimate intentions. Sarah felt the weight of representing her entire species in this conversation. Her response could influence how galactic civilization would eventually approach humanity, assuming her exposure didn't lead to immediate diplomatic complications. Perhaps, she said carefully, such a civilization might be conducting careful assessment before deciding whether to reveal themselves. First contact is irreversible, and making such a decision without adequate information could be catastrophic for both sides. That's a remarkably mature approach, Carthex acknowledged. Most emerging civilizations are eager to join galactic society as quickly as possible. The patience to conduct extended reconnaissance suggests sophisticated strategic thinking. The admission felt like crossing a line from which there could be no return. Sarah found herself caught between her loyalty to her mission and her growing respect for the beings she had come to know as friends and colleagues. Carthex, what would you do if you discovered that someone you had befriended was not who they claimed to be? His ears flattened slightly, indicating deep thought. That would depend on whether their deception had harmed anyone, and whether their true intentions were compatible with friendship. Deception for survival or protection is understandable. Deception for malicious purposes is not. Sarah made her decision. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm from Earth, the third planet in the solar system your people have been observing. I'm here on a reconnaissance mission to assess galactic civilization before my species decides whether to reveal ourselves. The confession hung in the air between them, representing both a moment of truth and a fundamental shift in the dynamics of first contact between humanity and galactic civilization. Carthex was silent for several minutes, his feline features cycling through expressions of surprise, concern, and what might have been relief. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a mixture of awe and worry. Sarah Chen of Earth, that has a more honest sound than Kethara of the Kepler rim. His whiskers twitched in what she now recognized as his version of nervous humor. How long has your species been aware of galactic civilization? Decades. We've been monitoring your communications and studying your technology while developing our own capabilities. The concealment measures your observers detected were implemented based on intelligence I've gathered during my time here. Intelligence about our observation methods and first contact protocols. Carthex's statement was matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. You've been learning how we study emerging civilizations so your people could avoid detection. Sarah nodded. Among other things, we needed to understand galactic society, technology, and political structures before deciding whether contact would be beneficial or catastrophic for humanity. And what conclusions have you reached? The question carried enormous weight. Sarah's answer might influence not only her personal relationship with Carthex, but potentially the entire future relationship between humanity and galactic civilization. Galactic society is far more sophisticated and peaceful than we anticipated, she said honestly. Your approaches to interspecies cooperation and conflict resolution represent achievements that humanity can learn from. However, we're also concerned about maintaining our independence and cultural identity in the face of such overwhelming technological and social advantages. Carthex leaned back on his meditation platform, his large eyes reflecting the garden's bioluminescent lighting. Those are reasonable concerns. Integration into galactic society does require significant adjustments, though the process is designed to preserve rather than eliminate cultural diversity. The problem is that the choice may no longer be ours to make, Sarah continued. Your detection of our solar system has accelerated the timeline beyond what anyone anticipated. We may be forced into contact before we're prepared for the consequences. That's why you're here, to gather the information your species needs to navigate first contact successfully. Sarah felt a mixture of relief and trepidation at having her mission finally understood by someone other than her handlers. Yes, though the situation has become more complicated than anyone expected. Carthex activated his datapad and began making notes. Sarah, I need to ask you some difficult questions about your people's capabilities and intentions. The MiG? 3 days after her confession to Carthex, Sarah found herself preparing for the most important communication of her life. They had agreed to establish informal diplomatic contact between humanity and galactic civilization, bypassing traditional first contact protocols in favor of gradual, careful dialogue between two individuals who had come to trust each other. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. Sarah would send a coded message to Earth explaining the situation and requesting permission to serve as humanity's first unofficial ambassador. Simultaneously, Carthex would discreetly approach select faculty members and academy officials who might be receptive to unauthorized diplomatic initiatives. The response from Earth came faster than Sarah had expected, encoded in what appeared to be routine status updates from her supposed homeworld. The message authorized her to proceed with informal contact while providing detailed guidelines for protecting both humanity's interests and her own safety. More surprisingly, The message revealed that Earth's intelligence services had been monitoring galactic diplomatic protocols for years and had developed contingency plans for various contact scenarios. Sarah's mission had always been intended as the first phase of a much larger strategic initiative. Carthex had been equally successful in his approach to Academy authorities. He had carefully selected Professor Veltara and Director Quinthala as potential allies, both beings known for their innovative approaches to interspecies relations and their respect for unconventional diplomatic solutions. The meeting they arranged took place in Director Quinthala's private chambers, a space designed to accommodate beings from various atmospheric and gravitational requirements. Sarah arrived to find herself facing three of the most influential figures at the Academy, each representing different aspects of galactic civilization's approach to first contact. Sarah Chen of Earth, Director Quinthala said, her crystalline form, refracting rainbow patterns in the chamber's carefully controlled lighting. Carthex has shared remarkable information about your presence here and your people's situation. Professor Veltara's compound eyes studied Sarah with professional interest rather than hostility. Your ability to maintain cover at this institution for months demonstrates remarkable preparation and cultural adaptability. These are precisely the qualities we look for in successful galactic citizens. The third being present was someone Sarah recognized, but had never met directly. Administrator Tekval served as the Academy's liaison with Galactic Intelligence Services and Diplomatic Corps. His presence suggested that this conversation had implications far beyond academic curiosity. Before we proceed, Administrator Tekval said, I must clarify the legal and diplomatic status of this meeting. You are currently present under false documentation, which technically constitutes identity fraud under galactic law. However, given the unique circumstances and your lack of malicious intent, we are prepared to treat this as an unofficial diplomatic contact rather than a criminal matter. Sarah felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. I appreciate your understanding. My deception was intended to protect both my people and galactic civilization from premature contact that might prove harmful to both sides. A wise precaution, Director Quinthala acknowledged. The question now is how to proceed in a manner that serves everyone's interests. Your people have clearly achieved technological capabilities that qualify them for council membership, yet they remain hidden from our detection systems. What my species needs, Sarah explained, is time to prepare for the massive cultural and social changes that galactic contact will bring. We're a young civilization with complex political structures and strong traditions of independence. Integration into galactic society will require careful planning and gradual adaptation. Professor Veltara leaned forward, her insectoid features showing interest. What specific concerns does humanity have about galactic integration? Sarah had prepared for this question during her months of observation and study. Our primary concerns involve maintaining cultural autonomy while adapting to galactic norms, protecting our political independence while accepting council authority, and preserving our economic systems while integrating into galactic trade networks. Those are mature and reasonable concerns, Administrator Tekval observed. Most emerging civilizations focus primarily on technological advancement and resource access. Your people's emphasis on cultural preservation suggests sophisticated understanding of integration challenges. The conversation continued for hours, covering everything from humanity's technological capabilities to their social structures and philosophical traditions. Sarah found herself serving as Earth's first diplomatic representative, describing her species to beings who would help shape galactic civilization's approach to first contact. What strikes me most, Director Quinthala said as the discussion wound down, is your people's patient approach to this situation. The fact that they sent a deep-cover intelligence operative to study us for months before making contact demonstrates remarkable strategic thinking. Carthex, who had remained largely silent during the formal discussions, finally spoke up. Sarah has mentioned that humanity's evolutionary history involved significant competitive pressures. This seems to have produced innovative problem-solving capabilities that could benefit galactic civilization. Competition can indeed drive innovation, Professor Veltara agreed. Some of our most successful council members come from species with similar backgrounds. The key is channeling competitive instincts toward constructive goals. Administrator Tekval activated a holographic display showing star charts and diplomatic protocols. The question we must address is how to manage the transition from covert observation to formal contact. The galactic exploration vessels currently studying your solar system will eventually require official responses to their observations. Sarah nodded. My handlers are aware of the timeline pressures. They're prepared to begin gradual revelation of humanity's true capabilities, but they need assurance that the process will be managed according to established diplomatic protocols. We can provide those assurances, Director Quinthala said. However, we'll need detailed information about your people's technological capabilities, political structures, and cultural characteristics. The Council's first contact procedures require comprehensive assessment before formal diplomatic relations can begin. The meeting concluded with an agreement that would have seemed impossible just days earlier. Sarah would serve as humanity's unofficial liaison while remaining at the academy as a student. She would provide detailed briefings about human civilization, while continuing her studies and maintaining her cover identity with modified documentation. In return, galactic authorities would implement modified observation protocols that respected humanity's desire for gradual contact. The exploration vessels would maintain their current distance while Academy experts developed specialized first contact procedures designed for dealing with an equally advanced civilization. Over the following weeks, Sarah found herself living a double life that was both exhilarating and exhausting. Her official academic schedule continued as before, but her evenings were filled with detailed briefings and cultural exchanges with Academy faculty and visiting diplomatic experts. The process revealed just how complex first contact between advanced civilizations could be. Every aspect of human society required careful explanation and contextualization for beings whose evolutionary histories had produced entirely different approaches to organization, governance, and social interaction. More surprisingly, Sarah discovered that galactic civilization was equally eager to learn from humanity's unique perspectives. Her descriptions of human scientific methodology, artistic traditions, and philosophical frameworks generated intense interest among faculty members from across the galaxy. Your species' approach to scientific investigation shows remarkable innovation, Professor Motheron observed during one of their sessions. The competitive peer review systems and rapid publication cycles you describe could accelerate research progress across multiple disciplines. Similar interest was expressed in humanities, diverse cultural traditions, political experiments, and approaches to conflict resolution. Sarah realized that Earth's diversity, which she had feared might be seen as primitive fragmentation, was actually viewed as a valuable source of innovative ideas and practices. The breakthrough came when Sarah was asked to participate in a special academy project developing new educational curricula for interspecies cooperation. Her human perspective on collaborative problem-solving provided insights that complemented existing galactic approaches, creating teaching methods that were more effective than either tradition alone. This is precisely why the Council values cultural diversity, Director Quinthala explained as they reviewed the successful pilot programs. Each species brings unique perspectives that enhance our collective capabilities. Humanity's contributions could prove particularly valuable given your species' adaptability and innovative thinking. As her unofficial diplomatic mission progressed, Sarah began to envision a future where humanity's integration into galactic civilization might proceed more smoothly than anyone had dared hope. The key was patience, mutual respect, and the gradual building of trust through honest communication and cultural exchange. The final phase of her mission began when Earth's government sent authorization for Sarah to invite a small galactic delegation to visit the solar system for preliminary discussions. The visit would mark humanity's first official acknowledgement of galactic civilization's existence, while providing galactic authorities with direct observation of human society and capabilities. Standing once again at the observation deck where she had first viewed the Academy months earlier, Sarah reflected on how much had changed. She was no longer a covert intelligence operative, gathering information about potential enemies. Instead, she had become humanity's first ambassador to a galactic community that was proving to be far more welcoming and beneficial than anyone on Earth had imagined. The stars that had once represented unknown dangers now seemed to offer unlimited possibilities for cooperation, learning, and mutual growth. Humanity was about to take its place among the galaxy's advanced civilizations, not as conquered subjects or primitive supplicants, but as equal partners contributing unique strengths to the cosmic community. Sarah activated her communication device and composed a message that would make history. Earth Control. This is Ambassador Chen. I am pleased to report that humanity's first contact with galactic civilization has been successfully established. We are ready to begin formal diplomatic relations. The response came back within hours, carrying the weight of an entire species' hopes and dreams. Ambassador Chen, this is Earth Control. Permission granted to proceed with formal contact protocols. Welcome to the galaxy, Sarah. You've made us all proud. As she watched the distant stars, Sarah smiled at the realization that her secret mission had accomplished far more than its original objectives. She had not only gathered intelligence about galactic civilization, but had helped establish the foundation for humanity's peaceful integration into the cosmic community. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were indeed special, but not in the way anyone had expected. They were special because of their ability to adapt, learn, and contribute to something greater than themselves while remaining uniquely human.